He's known as a business scientist. He's a brilliant young man. I've had an opportunity to see this guy speak. He's a speaker and he's also an entrepreneur. He's an author. His name is Siya Mopoko. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thanks, Buddha.
It's got a pleasure having you here, man.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. It's been a while.
I've been thinking, geez, man, when am I going to have this guy on my show? This South Africa needs to hear this guy. Like I know, like they've heard you all over the world. You know, you speak everywhere. But I just feel, look, a lot of my listeners would love to hear you. Who are you, Siya?
Wow, that's a difficult one.
No, it's not. You're still young.
Yeah.
Sure.
It depends. I think since we're talking about work, I'll go back to who I am.
No, let's talk about you. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm a guy who grew up in a very small town. I'd like to give a shout out to people in the Eastern Cape.
You're born in the Eastern Cape?
I was actually born in a small town in Paddy. Do you remember that film that used to play on SABC called Lubusi with that town?
Yeah, Lubusi, yeah.
That used to be my town when I was a kid.
Oh.
I actually used to go there to town. It used to be a big day when I go to town.
Well, and what type of family were you born into?
I was born into a big family where my parents basically had divorced when I was young.
Yeah.
So I grew up ekaya with my aunts and my cousins. Yeah. So it was really a big family.
You know, in English you say cousins, but you know, in Sizulu, it's like they're like your brothers and sisters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, indeed.
Yeah, so it was a big family.
It was a big family.
Religious family?
Religious family, and we were pretty entrepreneurial in that small town because we used to sell, veggies and fruit. That's where I learned about marketing.
Wow! And what was your first primary school?
I went to Trisika Primary School, which was the name of my little village.
Yeah. Trisika. And then what are some
Never been mentioned on Metro before.
Yeah, no, let's mention it. It's good. And let's mention some of the teachers that you remember.
Cool. That's a hard one again.
One or two teachers. Come on.
Mem Nombeo.
Oh,
I remember her.
Nice.
Because she was I think it was sub A at the time, grade 1 these days.
Yeah.
Sub A. I'm a sub A guy. And she was very influential, I think, to who I became in life.
And what type of a kid were you in primary school?
I used to laugh a lot.
Yeah.
I used to tell a lot of jokes, tell a lot of practical jokes. So I was the kid where a lot of people would surround me because I always had something to share.
Yeah. And let's go to high school.
High school, I actually moved from that part of the Eastern Cape. Yeah. I moved to a more upmarketish side, which is Port Alfred. You may have been to that part of the world because my mom had moved there. So that's where I did my high schooling. I went to a school in a place called Alexandria, also a very small town, but it's almost like township-like. So I moved from a rural to a kind of half rural, half township, and then I matriculated, and then I went to Cape Town for university.
And what was that high school?
The name of the high school was Okanya High School. Township school, man.
Okanya High School, Township School. That's where he did his high schooling. His name is Siya Mopoko. The best advice I ever got. That's his book. Brilliant young man. He's an entrepreneur today. There's always an interesting phase that a lot of young people go through when you're doing matric that year or just the year before. Some of them already know what they want to do when they matriculate. Some of them don't know. Some of them are just in the dark. What was going through your mind at the time when you were in high school?
It was a confusing time, I think, for me, because growing up in an area that didn't have a lot of access to career guidance and all of that, I wasn't sure what I was going to do at university. But one thing I was good at, I was actually top of my class at school. I think that was the last time I was a smart guy, when I was in high school. Because when I got to varsity, I started failing.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was very good in chemistry. So it kind of became a natural thing that, like, my teachers encouraged me that when you go to university, stick with chemistry or do chem and do anything in that line. And I think because I was so good with chemicals, even things like pharmacy were things that I was, pharmacology, those were things that I considered. But I ended up going to university at UCT Cape Town, where I studied chemistry and biochemistry. Up to honors, and then I did my master's. I went to the UK, where I did research as part of my MSc thesis when I was doing chemistry, focusing on drugs for MRI. I don't know if some people know the MRI scanners. If you suspected of having cancer, chemo, they put you on a scanner and just look at your tissue and all of that. But before they put you in that, they would give you a drug, and that drug is designed so that it could show the difference between the healthy cells and the cells that are diseased. So my research was focusing on the drug itself. If we throw in different things, how would it behave? So that's the research I was doing in the UK after I left university in Cape Town doing chemistry. So
at what age did you finish your master's?
I actually never finished my master's. I dropped out 3 months before I was supposed to finish. I was staying in Newlands in Cape Town. I just come back from the UK. Someone broke into my apartment. They stole my work, like a whole lot of my results and my samples. And I was depressed, and my scholarship had run out because that was my final year. And I was like, what do you do now?
How old were you at the time?
At the time, I was 23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah. That was around about 2004, yeah.
So what do they do? I mean, they steal everything. You're supposed to finish your masters. You're depressed. How did you get yourself out of that situation?
It was November. And it's at the end of the year, basically. It's going to be January. If you're going back to university, you would receive your scholarship beginning of the year.
Because you were supposed to graduate the following year.
Yes, I was going to submit literally within 2 months, you know. And I decided at that time, I said, life goes on, and I'll probably come back and do more of this research and finish this. But then, what do I do now? Because I've got rent to pay.
And you were just only 23.
Yeah, I've got rent to pay. And I said, what are my interests? For me, more than anything, the thing that has always pushed me in life has always been curiosity. So even at that time, I knew that even after graduating, I was not going to work in the field of science. My next step was going to be investments. So I said, you know what? Let me move forward. Let me go into investments. I'll probably do this thing part-time while I'm at a company.
It's quite interesting. When we come back, I just want us to focus on that. A lot of people go through that brick wall where you got to take that decision. What am I going to do with my life? What am I passionate about? Some people, it happens just after matric, they want to take a gap year. Or some people, it happens middle way through their careers. They're like, I just want to change careers. Or I want to start a business. Or you just faced with a brick wall. You just don't know what to do. You got to come up with, what am I going to do? So when we come back, we want to hear his next plan. What did he want to do? And how did he get started? And how did he get to be the person that he is today? Because trust me, believe you me, he's a successful entrepreneur. He's also an author. He owns a couple of businesses and he helps other entrepreneurs as well. His name is Siya Mopoko. His book is called The Best Advice I Ever Got. I'm going to take a picture of it and I'll put it up on Twitter. You can also follow him on Twitter. His Twitter handle is Siya Mopoko. In case you've just tuned in, he got into a situation where he was just about to finish his master's. It was November. He was supposed to submit his work, but they broke into his apartment and stole everything. He says he was depressed and, he just hit that brick wall and he just had to make the decision. What was the decision? What happened? What did you do?
Well, it was really a case of saying, okay, what's next, which is what you just asked. And when you're in that situation, usually you want to grab anything that comes. And I said, if the world were mine, what would I do? Like, if I could have anything I wanted, what would I go for? And it was at that moment where I said, actually, my real interest, now that I've studied science to this point, where I want to go and my curiosity is leading me is in the field of investments. Because no one teaches you about money at university. And I was really starting to get interested. I was reading all these books, Robert Kiyosaki and all that stuff. And then I said, let me look for work in this industry. And I started hitting the ground. I went to guys like Alan Gray. I went to Investec Asset Management. And it was already December. No one is interviewing people. They've already hired all the bright guys with all the BCom degrees and all of those things that I didn't have. So by the end of that month, it looked like, hey, what are we? It's already month end and it's January, 5th January, around about there, first week of Jan, Alan Gray called and they made me an offer. And at the time, I was really keen to join Investec Asset Management and I called Investec. I started leveraging and bargaining. Said, hey, Alan Gray wants me. Would you guys want me because I really want to work for you? They said, give us a day. The next day they called me. I had 8 interviews, marathon of interviews in one day. 4 o'clock that day they called. They made me an offer. So by end of Jan, I already had a job and I'd already gone to the bank to open a bank account to get a credit card, start paying rent, which I was owing. For December, I started work February 2005. So that's basically what I did. And had I allowed my little voice to discourage me, because I didn't have the qualifications. I was a scientist. I didn't have BCom. I didn't have CFA. I didn't have all these things that they wanted. But what I could do was to sell myself to the companies and to show my value, to say,
I like what he just said. Every time when I interview these entrepreneurs, I always, pick up the punchlines. He just said he was good at selling himself. He didn't have the actual qualifications they were looking for, but he was very good in selling himself. Sell yourself. Be good at selling yourself. And it's something that I was also taught to be good at. If you want to succeed in entertainment business and build yourself as a brand, be good at selling yourself. Yeah, sorry to disturb you. Continue.
Absolutely. I mean, it's critical, and I think what stops people is listening to other people. And I listen to people saying, what are you doing? Why are you looking for a job in the wrong industry? Because people get discouraged when they hear that. But I didn't listen. I was pig-headed. You know what I mean? And I had nothing to lose. I mean, I was already down. How low could I go from there? Probably going to be homeless and hit the streets. But I really believed, and I kept going. And I didn't stay there for long, which we can talk about maybe sometime during the course of the show. Because I was only there for just under 2 years. And my real dream was to be an entrepreneur and start doing my own thing. And I already had an idea of what I wanted to do at the time.
What was it?
I wanted to go into digital media. I had a simple idea when I was at varsity of putting screens in lifts of high-rise buildings. And a lot of people seemed excited by it, people around me, and a whole group of us, we started this thing, which was actually the beginning of our learning, because we quickly ran out of money, which was really, for me, probably the biggest turning point of my life.
So you gathered a couple of friends and started this digital company?
Gathered a couple of friends, and a few friends invested money in the venture. Some friends quit jobs to work on this thing. And
talking about quitting jobs, a lot of people go through that. They're interested in a business idea, or they want to start a business, but they've got a stable income, and they're comfortable in a comfort zone. But they don't know what decision to make. Like when it comes to, do I quit my job and start a business, or do I start a business simultaneously while working, but it needs a lot of my time? What do I do? So what was going through? Were you still working, or you just quit your job?
Oh, for me, it was actually a very simple decision to make, because when I was still at Investec, I knew I was going to quit at some point. So I started going online and started looking for people I could partner with, people who had money, because that was the first thing I was going to need.
Yeah, because you didn't have the money.
I didn't have enough money to start this venture, and I needed millions of rands. So I ended up locating a guy who was a property developer in Cape Town, and he didn't know me from a bar of soap. This thing, push on this fool, but you just send an email and see what happens. And then people call back and you meet with them. And from there, within 4 minutes of talking to this guy, he said, let's do it. Why not?
Wow.
And then I remember walking out of that meeting thinking, okay, it means I've got a business partner and we're going to do this thing. And then within a few months, left the job, took my bonus. By the end of that year, sadly, the business partner was no longer in the deal. So I was stuck with the business, and the guy was not there with his money. And that's why I'm saying one of the biggest lessons started at that time, because we had to start raising capital. And at that time, the book I was reading was a book called Larger Than Life by Donald Gordon, the guy who started Liberty Life in South Africa, where he tells a story of how disheartening and painful it was to raise money in South Africa in 1956 when he wanted to start Liberty Life, which we know today. So that to me was like my Bible. Daily, I was reading that page where he was talking about the pain of raising money. And I managed to raise some money, friends joined. But on the subject of quitting jobs,
how much did you raise?
We raised, how much did we raise at that time? We raised just over 600,000 within a short period of time, and we started the business, and we needed 10 million rands, and we raised a little bit more money, but it looked like it was not going to happen. Because it was really hard to raise more money at that time. It was really end of 2007, beginning of 2008. The markets were starting to feel it. So that's when I started kind of reducing my team to say, guys, it looks like the Titanic is probably going to sink soon. Let's get everyone else jobs. I started looking for jobs for some of our people, because at that time I already had an idea. Let me talk to millionaires. Let me write a book about how millionaires do it. And we're going to use that book as a manual to build our next venture. So everybody else left. I was left with one guy, and I finished the book. I raised money for that. I started a publishing
Is it this
company.
book?
It's my first book. No,
So this is your second book?
This is my second book.
So what was the first book?
Conversations with JSE Altex Entrepreneurs.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I partnered with the JSE on that venture. And then I started my next venture was a publishing business, which I think is probably the best business in the world. I couldn't be happier doing what I do now, creating content. I mean, the barriers to entry in creating content are low, but if you could create great content, there's no limit to what the world can give you in terms of rewards.
And tell us about your latest book, The Best Advice I Ever Got. When did you start working on this?
This book took me about 15 months to work on. I spoke to about 32 top executives in South Africa, people from business, people from academic sector. I've got vice chancellors of university sharing the best advice they ever got. And we expanded on a lot of topics, the advice they could give to somebody else. And the people we're looking at were young professionals, young leaders, young people. We've got a whole section in the book where we give advice to governments, not just in South Africa, but to Africa as a continent, to say, what do we need to do as African leaders to position Africa in a way that is going to guarantee that Africa doesn't go back to what it used to be colonized or anything like that, whether by the East or by the West. But how can we negotiate great deals that are going to be suitable and that will serve us all as Africans? And some of the guys, if I may mention names, the guy that I have in the book, Mark Kutifani, he's been in the news this week, the new CEO of Anglo American. I've got John Kehoe, who's an international author. He's written a book called Mind Power. He's Canadian. He was in South Africa at the time. We had a long breakfast in Rosebank, and we discussed his contribution to the project. I've got Saki Matsazoma, Standard Bank and Stanlib. I've got Nikki Newton-King from the JSE. I've got the vice chancellors I've mentioned, Verts, UCT. I've got people from Sasol, Nolita Fakude, and Christine Ramon. So it's Becky Sbia from the Chamber of Commerce. So it's a who's who really of people that we know as South Africans. And I think the difference between this book and my first one is that there's a lot of my own insights in this book. So in every chapter, there's a lot that I contribute from my own perspective, and the whole intro of the book is really my own story of the best advice that I ever got and how it has served me in life.
What was the best advice you ever got?
The best advice I ever got was from Mark Lambetti, who was the founder of Massmart, the company that owns Game, Macro, and all these big wholesalers in South Africa. When I asked him a couple of years back his definition of success, he said success is something he measures daily. It's not some place in the future, some arbitrary place you get to. He measures it every single day of his life, how successful he was on that day. And he showed me his formula of how he does that. But to me at the time, it couldn't be my formula because those things were not relevant to my life. And I looked at my life and I said, if I were to measure my success daily, what would be important to me? And 4 things came to mind. The first thing was I'm a big learner. My company is called Mopoko Research International. We do a lot of international research. We publish, as I've already mentioned. We do a lot of work. I speak around the world. I've actually spoken at a platform where Robin Banks has spoken. Actually, sorry, not Robin Banks, the guy you mentioned, Robin Sharma.
Robin Sharma, yeah.
I've actually spoken at the International School of Investment and Finance to a group of Russians, a school that Robin Sharma supports, and where he's also spoken. I've spoken with you, DJ Spuda. You mentioned that.
It was an entrepreneurial week, I remember.
Yes, Global Entrepreneurship Week, and it was a lot of fun. But the 4 things quickly. The first one is I always ask myself, did I learn? What did I learn today? And every day I learn something new. And it's amazing how that accumulation of learning changes everything in the way you think and the way you do things. The second thing is, did I love? And I talk a little bit in the book about the importance of loving your work. I mean, the best time of my day is 5 a.m. When I get up in the morning, I'm the happiest because I'm having the best day because I love what I do. And the third and the last thing, is service. If you're an entrepreneur, we work for people. You know what I mean? Our bosses are our clients, and you need to choose the clients you love. And I think serving people you love, it's heaven. Nothing beats that, you know. I see people who are depressed because they've got clients they can't stand. Fire them, you know. Work with people who inspire you, you know, because that's how you could give your best service to the world. And the last thing is keeping the score, like every soccer match. You know, it's pointless playing the best football match like Arsenal, you know, and not score goals, you know. And what's the score in business? It's cash in the bank. Did we get paid? So I always ask, did I love? Did I learn? Did I love? Did I serve? Did I earn? So I always measure these things in this order. And every single day I measure my success and I know how far I am and where I stand. So I don't have to wait till the end of the year to realize, was I successful this year? So every day I could always change that. I could always do better the next day. I could always add 1% more from the previous day. So that's really the best advice I've ever got. The biggest solution you can get is a money solution. So you need to start having a list of things that you can do to generate money or to cut costs somewhere. In fact, my mentor, a guy called Bill Gibson, and myself, we put together a small booklet with about 30 ways to raise capital because we were in the same position you're in, and I had to come up with a lot of creative ways. If I may share just one, I was owing rent to a tune of about 80,000 rands to my landlord for our office. And I remember thinking, I can go to this guy and beg him for his forgiveness, or I could go there with a business proposal. And I came out of that 1 hour meeting with an investment of 1 million rand from the guy that I owed 80,000 rands to, and even cancelled the lease, which was remaining for 2 years, which was worth about 300,000 rand. So think creatively, think bigger. Richard Branson, when he wanted to install those screens on the back of the planes way back in the 90s, he needed $10 million. He couldn't get it from the banks. So he said, how can I get this thing to happen? He decided, let me go to Boeing and buy new planes. And those planes were worth about $4 billion. And guess what? The screens were installed for free. So sometimes when your challenge is in front of you, don't think small, think bigger.
Nice one. Now, I really want to apologize to Vusi and Jabu who have been holding the whole time. Unfortunately, we just ran out of time. It's 5 o'clock. If you want to communicate more to Siya, go to his website, Siya Mopoko. Siya Mopoko is spelled S-I-Y-A, as in Siya. And then Mopoko is M-A-P-O-K-O, Mopoko. So it's all one word, siyamopoko.co.za. And just leave your information over there, and the guy will personally reply to you, and you can communicate with him. We're really proud of you, bro. The work that you've done is totally amazing. And by the way, guys, he's an amazing speaker. You need to see this guy speak. Do you put in a schedule of where you're going to speak next at on your website?
I don't have it for this year on my site, no.
Yeah.
But
how do people get to know?
Because I used to do my own seminars as well, which I'm not doing anymore. But this year, what we're going to do, a lot of webinars online. So everybody everybody who's a subscriber to my site will know, because we're going to be sending out emails saying, hey, we've got a webinar. We're going to be talking about raising money. We're going to be talking about different topics that affect entrepreneurs. So it's going to be quite cool. And so the best place is always my website, because I communicate from there.
Nice one. You can also go to his website to get his latest book. It is his second book, The Best Advice I Ever Got. And you were saying you've got about you've got advice from what, 12 different entrepreneurs here?
In this book, we've got 32 actually.
32.
It's me plus 32 other people.
The likes of Mr. Tim Tebeila.
Oh man, we were talking about him just now, because he's both a guy that inspires both of us.
Yeah, he inspires us as well.
And we really love Mr. T. And I also want to say before I leave the studio that for every copy we sell, we're donating a copy to a young person. We're targeting matrics, and I'm hoping that we're going to work with you, DJ Spoon.
Oh, nice.
Give you thousands of books, take to schools, man, doing what you're doing, which is fantastic. We'd love to support in any way we can.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, my brother. So for every book that gets bought, he will personally autograph the book and give the other one for free to students out there. So go out there and get his book. It's amazing. Can you please sign this one for me?
I'll do that, definitely.
Let's do it now on air. Yeah, Malola, can you give this man a pen? Like, what does Malola know about a pen? Because the only thing he knows is CDJ 2000. He finished school long ago. When did you finish? 2 years ago? You graduated 2 years ago?
No, 5 years ago.
Not too fancy, boss. So while he's autographing his book for me, thank you so much, man. We're going to go straight to the United States to my girl Farai to give us the international scoop. And then as soon as we come back, guys, we are chatting to Mr. Robin Sharma, who's coming into the country a little bit later. He's an amazing man as well as a well-renowned speaker. Got over 12 books that he's written. His most famous book that a lot of people got introduced to his work by is the book, The Monk That Sold His Ferrari. We'll have a bit of a chat with him. I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me, Guti. Why such a short interview? It's because we are allocated 30 minutes. It was a pre-recorded interview during the week, but we had technicalities and technical problems, and he had to go. There was a certain time that he had to go and do other interviews, so we could only get him for like 7 minutes. But I will play that interview in a moment, and he's coming into the country. For you to grab the tickets, you can go to our website, our foundation's website, which is SLEF, S-L-E-F. It's slef.co.za. For every ticket that gets purchased over there, no profits will be made. It's an unprofitable organization. The money goes towards educating South African kids out there. Siya, thank you so much, my brother. I really wish you well.
Thank you, DJ Spuda.
Wow, it's amazing, man. You're probably inspired wherever you are. We hope you are inspired wherever you are. See, the line that we always say, and it rings a bell to a lot of people out there, and we try to get you off your behind and get working and get that business done. Stop just thinking about it and remember that there's a million other people that might be thinking of the same idea. Just get it done. Screw it. Let's do it. Just get things done. Stop talking or thinking about them, and stop jinxing your ideas and telling other people, because people may just jinx your ideas or may just discourage you. So just get things done. People out there doing great things with their lives. The question is, what are you doing with yours?
The Entrepreneur with DJ Spoo on Metro FM.